One.
Welcome back, South Jersey football fans and New Jersey football fans. The South Jersey Football Frenzy Show Take 2. We didn't have a scrimmage.
Well, that's what it's like.
Like the Eagles, no preseason.
Well, forget the Eagles. It's like high school football now.
That's right.
Starts July.
Yeah.
Like, you're asking me, do I have any comments? And I'm about to, and Rod gives me the, hold on, Mac. We'll talk about it throughout the show, but, I know what we're trying to do. I know the end game. I like the end game, and, I love it. You're not giving me my soapbox yet, but, if you see some bad things happen early in the season, i.e. turnovers, i.e. missed tackles, missed assignments, procedural penalties,
Well,
it's...
as always, we want to make sure we are in as good a resolution we can be. And, sometimes our show is a little too high speed. So we're slowing down a little bit. And thank you, Rob, for fixing that. We're good to go here. Welcome back. Another great season of the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. Want to give a quick shout out again to those who are our presenting sponsors. The West Jersey Football Coaches Association is the reason for this show. They have put it on this season. They were established to promote, improve, and unite football in South Jersey. It's exactly what they've done. They established a Battle at the Beach, which, of course, now is a national event, as we saw a couple of weeks ago down in Ocean City. They've also donated more than $50,000 to date to provide scholarships. The National Football Foundation, Touchdown Club of Southern New Jersey, and they also work with the charity Philly Faces, which helps those in need of facial reconstruction surgeries. Thank you to the West Jersey Football Coaches Association for their help in sponsorship of this show. And Sully, of course, Dave O'Sullivan, you can find him on this very Facebook page if you are watching on Facebook. And if not, you can find it at facebook.com/SJGloryDays. The Glory Days magazine founder, Sully, is the reason we have this platform. You can also visit sjglorydays.com for all local high school football coverage and other sports. I see our commenters are in here. Again, thank you all for your support. I've seen you out in the last couple of weeks asking, where's the show? Is it coming back? Are you guys going to be on? We can't wait. Of course we're going to be here. We just, starting a little bit delayed this year, Mac, a little bit delayed.
We were delayed, but... And you thanked Rod in the beginning, and then Rod really did his job.
Yeah, then Rod saved us, so I'm going to thank Rod again. Rod Self in Studio B. Rod, thank you again.
Yes.
From where we started and where we are now, it's pretty incredible. You can see the handiwork that is Rod's work.
Were we in too high def, Rod?
Yeah, it was too strong.
Too.
Facebook and YouTube couldn't handle it.
Like the bear, right? Like the camera's like here, right?
Yeah.
You can't have that.
If there was a way for us to be like that grainy, closed circuit television, right. Some cable station in Woodbury or something 40 years ago, that's what we really
We're black and white
warrant.
guys. We're black and white guys. Actually, some people say we might be radio guys.
Yeah. Well, that's true. We got faces for radio. You asked me how old I was before the show, and you said, yeah, you look older than that. So,
I threw you a compliment the other night,
you
too,
did.
so,
You did.
right.
That's true. So really, we're 2 weeks in here, week 0 and week 1. We've got an action-packed show for you this week, especially in the beginning of the season. We always like to really touch on all these games and who's scoring touchdowns, who's getting the interceptions.
Who's blocking?
Yeah, we get to the blocking a little bit,
right
too.
There he forgets. Who's blocking? Who's destroying blocks? But go ahead.
We get to the blocking a little bit further on here. We have to bring back the whiteboard this season, but we have a lot to touch on in terms of we're 2 weeks in. The season isn't that long. I mean, it is when you're talking about state championships at the end of November, the beginning of December, and where we are now. But in terms of the regular season, the games where everybody is playing for something, it's really only 8 weeks.
October 20th.
Yeah.
That's the last game. That's the last weekend of 2021, and the playoffs. It's happening quick. Next thing you know, people are looking at the records after this weekend. They'll have 3 games under their belt.
Yeah, exactly. And we're starting to see early on some teams that are way out ahead, some teams that you could see need some things to kind of start clicking, and some teams that, quite frankly, are behind the 8 ball already, given their schedules. We're going to talk about one of those teams later on in the show here. So there is a lot that has happened. There is a lot to cover. We're going to look specifically at last week in our second segment, which is going to come up in a minute. And then we'll take a look at the matchups, some of the top matchups around South Jersey this weekend. And we'll close out with our Game of the Week preview. In here, we always have the knots of the week, the non-offensive touchdowns of the week. We'll show you those in one location this week. So that was kind of cool. And some other things too, Mac. I'm thinking maybe we want to take a walk down memory lane when we preview some of the games that are upcoming. But first, I want to know from you, we're 2 weeks in, outside of Clemson losing to Duke, what is on the top of your mind, Mac? What are you thinking about the season so far that, as you've seen it, specifically what you're looking at in high school?
Well, I mean, I alluded to it in the opening of the, it's like, again, generationally, I came from a world where you had 3 scrimmages.
Right.
I mean, you were 2 weeks without, you had a week without pads. I mean, these programs have to ramp up quick. And we talk about it every year, every week. Football is a sport that you have to prepare for the first game like you're preparing for the last game. You have to have your hands team in. You have to have your onside kick team. Like, all that stuff needs to be in. These are the things that keep coaches up at night. So when I watch a game, these first 2 weeks, I'm giving a lot of passes because you're dealing with high school kids, you're dealing with a lack of time, and then this week you're in a weather week. I mean, there's just some things, no coach will openly complain about it.
Right.
Hey, coach, it's the same for everybody.
I don't know. What does openly mean? Will they tell me about it? Will they tell you?
Well, they tell us. That's
some of them will.
Well, nobody's.
They might not say it on the record. Correct.
Yeah. Yes. So, I mean, those things make a difference. And, if I get a soapbox tonight, I might mention that, some teams prepare a little differently in July than other teams.
Sure.
So if your district does...
And it's always been that way, hasn't it?
Well, sure. But, it's you put yourself in a spot. I mean, this game needs to be practiced. And the majority of the kids, this newsflash, majority of the kids on these football teams probably aren't playing Power 5 football in the future.
Probably.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, he needs a little more work, a little more time. These events take, so it's making a balance. There's my...
All right.
In saying that, we're in football season, right? It's
We
beautiful.
are.
It's great. I like to see games in the dark, but...
Yeah. Best time of the year, as always.
But we'd have to start at 8
Let's get a little bit cooler.
We'd have to start at 8 o'clock at night to see games in the dark right now.
Yeah, and I'm glad it wasn't like this a couple weeks ago at Ocean City. We had pretty decent weather there, a little bit breeze, and things were great. Most of the players are not going to play D1 we see each week, but one who is Den Jaquez. I see Papa Den here in the chat. I want to give a shout out. Big win for Syracuse last week, and we saw a lot of South Jersey faces. Dan, Elijah Clark, LaQuint Allen, some guys that we know pretty well. And, you got a lot of, I didn't mean for this to be orange and blue, but
It is orange and blue. I can see it. I got it.
Go orange.
Got a little IU, got a little Hoosier.
I don't think do we know anybody on Indiana?
We do.
Maybe if some of these South Jersey guys were going to Indiana,
I had a little mixed emotions watching, right? Son in Indiana, and Kyle, quarterback in his first game at Ohio State.
That's
so
right.
Kyle got the win. Indiana kicked off a good, good fraternity row weekend. I'm being told. So it was a win all the way around in the state of Bloomington. In the state of Indiana, Bloomington.
Special shout out to Bayshaw Tootin, two-time hat man, in the victory column in Blacksburg, my alma mater, which I will enjoy the view from 1-0 right now. I don't know what's going to happen from here on out, so let's just feel good about that.
Real quick, Mark, you're speaking to the South Jersey guys.
Yeah.
I was up watching my son play, and on the field were guys from Salem, guys from Highland High School, different high schools in South Jersey. And then we go back to our house to watch the games, and we're watching all of the different guys. I'm sitting with my dad, who's from Ohio, and I'm talking about Miles Frazier. I'm talking about, Deuce Chestnut, who's on TV. I'm talking, we're watching Boston College, and I'm like, oh, Jalen Cheek's out there. Like, it's a lot of guys from South Jersey area who are actually playing on Saturdays. across the country. Kentucky is another place that has South Jersey guys now. So that was pretty cool this weekend, just seeing how many guys from South Jersey were actually playing.
And also, as we've got in here too, Dwayne Moore says, we know Devin Igbinosun, who played at Union, who we met at Battle of the Beach a couple years ago, who's
Buckeye.
strapping it up at Ohio State right now. So
Yeah, a lot of dudes all over. I mean,
Yeah.
Wash from Lenape at Purdue. I mean,
that's right.
Yep.
It's just
The Lenape contingent went out and saw Wash this
yeah,
weekend,
they were
right?
out there. The O-line and D-line boys were out there to support Coach Perret, Coach Keene. They were all, and of course Coach Wash supported his son. So yeah, and they brought their kids. It was a dad's week. It was saw some great
pretty
pictures.
awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right, great. Well, look, college football's here. The pros starts tomorrow night. I know everybody's got, some people are probably missing it today because they've got their fantasy football draft. My team's so-so. But we're here to talk about South Jersey and New Jersey high school football, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to look back at the action from last week, and there was a lot of it. If you want to stay tuned, that's segment 2, and it's coming up right after this.
Enthusiastic about football? Become a part of the NJFOA South Football Officials Association and join us to officiate high school football. A diverse community of over 250 members oversees every high school football game in southern New Jersey. Our team upholds the highest standards of the game. We are advocates for sportsmanship, guardians of player safety, and champions of fair play. Are you ready to join us on the field? The 2024 cadet class kicks off on March 6th. Be sure to secure your spot now by registering on our website or scanning the QR code from this ad. But that's not all. You could score a touchdown with reimbursement. When you pass the class, the state of New Jersey will give you $300 back towards your initial cost. Ready to put on the stripes and join the team? Become a football official with the NJFOA South today.
Welcome back to the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show here, presented by Glory Days Magazine. Segment 2, Week in Review, Mac, and this really is the time when I have to take a sip of water and take a deep breath because we're going to race through some of these scores. Also, want to thank the Officials Association for their sponsorship of the show. You saw their commercial. Well done, boys and ladies. And if anybody wants to join up, you saw the QR code and you saw the contact information. We can always use more football officials, something that, a couple years ago really became a point of emphasis. And since then, the numbers have increased, the officiating's gotten better, and everybody is happy with that.
A note to that. It's a way to stay in the game. I mean, just real quick, my brother's an official over in Pennsylvania. He does some high-level PA games, great crew. He loves it. He played at Ursinus, played at Bishop Eustace. And then you got, on the sidelines all over South Jersey, but I see Marky Lavallo, I see work. Mm-hmm. You see the guys that you knew were, these kids don't know. A lot of these former officials or officials were former football players themselves. They know the game, they played the game, and it's a way they can stay in the mix. A lot more, that keeps their hands in it, and so they need good young officials in that process. So it's a great thing, a way to get involved.
No question about it. It is a way to stay involved. It's a way to help the sport. It's a way to help the kids that are involved now. And, it's so vital. I mean, without officials, there is no football, of course. Not an easy job either, so remember that. Let's start out. Mac, we're going to go back to last Thursday. This game started in the morning. It was an early morning down at Penns Grove, and Pleasantville made it not so pleasant. 14-6, they beat the Red Devils, dropped them to 0-2. Pleasantville bounced back after their season opening loss, which was 14-6 as well, at the Battle at the Beach. Dwayne Carter, 19-yard touchdown catch from Amon Jones, and Gabriel Rodriguez put it away with a fumble recovery in the end zones. Pleasantville moves to 1-1. Northern Burlington shut out Pemberton 41-0. Ronnie Borden, pretty good game, 12-19, 219 and 4 touchdowns. But how about Manny Saiz? I hope I didn't say that wrong. 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, Mac.
Saw Northern. There was a good first half against Shawnee. Then Shawnee took, kind of got a little more some of that up for the Pemberton game. So, they got some guys.
Audubon, 31. Maple Shade, 0. Luke Hoke really stole the show on this one. 4 catches, 211 yards, and 2 touchdowns. In a close one, Overbrook beats Bordentown 36-34. D'Angelo Conquest. It seems like he's been there for, I don't know how many years, 20 years. Continues his conquest of the opponents. 8 for 16, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Ran 18 times from 182 for 3 touchdowns. Really impressive game from him. How about Clayton? 2-0 now. Beat Lower Cape May 26-21. Demetrius Williams. I've seen clips of this kid. Really, really impressive running back. 14 carries, 169 yards, 4 touchdowns as the Clippers move to 2-0. They beat Kip Cooper Academy 34-12 in the opener. Pensauken 34, Cherry Hill West 7. This was an interesting weekend, man, because you had
Turkey Day.
You had Papa Mac Bowl right here.
Right.
Your father,
Yep.
Cherry Hill West and Pensauken. And we also had Eustis and Holy Cross played. So it was the Macanany weekend.
Well, I don't know about
The crossovers.
Yeah, a lot of interesting seeing West play Pensauken and bring back memories. We joke on this. That was for the longest time. That was the Thanksgiving game up until late 70s, and then East started playing West, and Eustis started playing Pensauken, et cetera. But we always talk. I always get some like, Coach, you get, I see people on the street at the games, and there's no secret. I got special places.
Yeah.
Pensauken's one of them. There's special place for me there. Cherry West, I always want them to see them do well. Places I've been, places I've, my dad's coached, I've coached, Lenape, Eustis, et cetera. Shawnee, I'm sometimes a little biased. I apologize. These are schools I grew up watching and have some affiliation with, so it's kind of cool.
From Pensauken to Pennsville. Pennsville beats Lindenwold 49-6. Great game for Sky Epps of Pennsville. 10 carries, 118 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's pretty impressive. 11.8 per clip.
Isn't this the point no show? I say, Rod, why do you only get the ball 10 times?
Right.
if you're getting a first down every time you touch it.
Right. Yeah.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep having them touch it.
Triton 28, Deptford 14. Michael Lewis 11 for 14, 133 yards and a touchdown. Also ran for 3 scores as the Mustangs go to 2-0. Wildwood beat Cumberland 28-21. Junior Hands 10 of 25, 234 and 2 touchdowns. He also ran for 2 scores. His game-winning 15-yard touchdown run happened with under a minute left in the 4th quarter. Congratulations to Wildwood. This one may have shocked many, including myself. Maybe not so much as who won, because I thought it would be a pretty good game, but maybe just by the final score, Mac. Cherokee 47, Hamilton 7. Kenny Smith runs for 132 yards and a touchdown for Hamilton. But other than that, it was all Chiefs. Ryan Bender throws for 117 and runs for 1. Also threw for 1, also ran for 1. Murad Campfield, 2 touchdowns, 134 yards rushing. Cherokee absolutely just rolls over Hamilton.
Bender has 88 yards on 7 carries. All I can hear, is the old, head coach Glatz, right? He played guard for that squad in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
4, 5, and 6 with Horner. And they're doing what Glatzy wants to do.
That's right.
And it's what the O-linemen want to do.
Yeah.
And
Go forward. That's what you always say. Go forward. They want to go forward.
Linemen want to go forward.
Cherokee linemen want to go forward.
Oh, a lot of Cherokee linemen tend to want to go forward through you and down. They want to meet the back in the end zone, too.
Yeah.
And you got Bender, who can, dual threat quarterback. We're not on quarterback run yet, right? That's a couple more
Not
weeks.
yet.
We'll
A
talk
couple
about
more
that.
weeks.
Okay.
When it starts to get colder,
Yeah, what? You know what?
it works.
The runs.
The runs.
The run runs.
Hey, Clemson. Catch the ball, run him in. Anyway.
And you're wearing orange. Cherokee has a big test this week we'll look at. Strong start for them. Hamilton looked great against St. John Vianney in the opener down at Battle at the Beach in a blowout win. Early in the season, tough foe. You look like now maybe you recalibrate. Hey, guys, that first week was great, but now look, okay, that's distant history. Coach Rosso and his team have their sights set on bigger goals and a loaded Group 4 team. Look, you got Mainland, Millville, Winslow, Hamilton, Shawnee, Pensauken. We can keep going and going and going on Group 4. Hamilton will use this
Oh my
and
God.
get much better.
100%. I mean, this is a squad that doesn't happen. You look at the history of Hamilton. You know, this is kind of like, hey guys, this is not Hamilton football. It won't be Hamilton football.
It's an eye opener.
Yeah, it's an eye opener for a lot. It's an eye opener for them. I don't see it happening again. But you know, Rass is gonna get it right.
In other news, Winslow beat Lenape 34-0. Jalen Parker 10 for 22, 166 yards and a touchdown. Javon Johnson 7 carries, 121 yards and a touchdown. Cam Miller 6 catches, 194 yards, Mac, as Winslow rolls
Yeah,
the tribe.
It was good. It was close at half. It was 14-0 at half, and then Winslow just poured it up. Lenape a little bit out of sorts, some things going on. Quarterback, you know, they're again just like they got a great staff over there. Those guys, they'll get it together, and you know, we'll talk about it this week. They got a tough one. You know, all these teams, right? This is there's no rest for the weary, or
I always said wicked, but weary is good.
Yeah.
No rest for the wicked, no rest for the weary. I don't think those Lenape folks are too wicked,
No.
but they might be weary after the 0-2 start. But they played, you know, Passaic County Tech in the first game, which is
I would
state
say
finalists in Group 5.
would-
They're pretty good.
if you
Lost 13-0.
right, if you would have told folks, hey, you're going to open up in Passaic, and it was a 7-0 game for a good part of it, and you would have said, okay, but the next week you're going to lose a Passaic 13, and the next week you're going to
Yeah.
have that happen from Winslow, that was a little bit shocking. But, you know, look, it's as we talk about every week, it's high school football, right?
It's high school football. The tribe needs to rally, and I think they have just exactly the team that will have everybody's attention to perhaps rally for. We'll get to that. How about Florence? 34-0 over New Egypt. I do want to send a special shout out to the Florence Flashes and Coach Joe Frapoli. In his final years, final go-around, he's been there many, many, many years. Some powerhouse Florence teams. I saw he was given a token of appreciation from the New Egypt coach Fence. Great gesture before the game. And this is also the last time they'll meet as kind of divisional rivals, as New Egypt is going to move to the Shore Conference next season. Darian Woody, 101 yards rushing and a touchdown on 6 carries.
50th year for Frapp,
Yeah.
right? 50th year. Word was he was going to step down after last year. He was stepping away. And they were like, Coach, you just can't step away on your 49th year without
Half 100, yeah.
Right, without letting anybody,
Even numbers.
Well, you got to let people know what's going on. When
Right.
you know, when you're coaching 49 years, you got to. So Frapp, you know, congrats the family, great people. What a
legacy. man.
what a job they've done down there. I mean, he's coached kids. He's coached He's coached 3, maybe 4 generations down there.
And the stories I always hear, this was before my time here, but the stories of the pit and those teams and, you know, legacies that coincide and will last forever in South Jersey high school football lore. So congratulations, Coach Frapoli, on the big win. Florence 1-0. They beat New Egypt 34-0. Seneca 1-0 also. They beat Sterling 47-6. Zach Fearon, who we talked about a lot last year, 100 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Colin Walsh and Jamar Warthen each run for a touchdown. Warthen also caught one as the Golden Eagles start off on the right foot. Woodstown 34-7 over Haddon Heights. Bryce Belafonte, 20 carries, 132 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Garrett Lehman snagged a couple of picks as the Wolverines rolled over the Garnets. Gateway, Coach Andrew Daly's first win at Gateway. They beat Haddon Township 19-0. Sean Simmons, 91 yards passing, 68 yards rushing, and a touchdown. Tyler Mills, 5 carries, 111 yards, and a touchdown. Simmons also had an interception on defense and a blocked punt out of the end zone for safety. So he really did it on all 3 facets of the game, Mac. Congrats, Coach Daly, on your first win at Gateway. Let's roll through some of these Friday, man. Another deep breath. Woodbury, 31-0 over West Defford. Dante Vicarelli, a name you're familiar with, 14-20, 171 yards. Anthony Reagan, Mr. Do-It-All for Woodbury, 17 carries, 213 yards, 5 touchdowns. Moorestown beats Cherry Hill East, 16-0. Atlantic City goes 2-0 with a 28-12 win over Clearview. Boardwalk Joe Lyons, 289, 4 touchdowns through the air. Sinai DeGraffenrate, Ice Cup, 6 catches, 173 yards, 3 of them touchdowns. One of South Jersey's best players, Mac, with the best nickname around.
Keep throwing. Keep throwing to him.
And
That's good percentage.
when the weather is warm, stick with the ice cup. Vineland, 53. Bridgeton, 0. Charles Clark, 3 rushing touchdowns. Coach Jose Guzman at Vineland, his first win as head coach. Congratulations. From 1 win to win 101. Cinnaminstons' Mario Patrizzi gets number 101 with his win over Collingswood, 26-7 last weekend. Gavin Pendergrass, 4 catches, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns for the Pirates. Kyle Willis ran for 2. Delsey keeps clicking. They rolled Delran 49-19 in the Del Bowl. The Crusaders, Wayne Adair, look, we know what he could do. He caught 2 touchdowns. He ran for 1. They had 3 other guys, and Russo, Maxwell, and Wyatt run for a touchdown. The Crusaders are back full force. Lost in the state final last year, Mac, but by my count, I think it's 23 consecutive regular season wins for the boys in red.
And there's a guy or two you don't even have on this sheet that we don't even know yet that's
right.
It's going to do something.
You talk about the big guys.
Yeah,
those are the guys. When we get to the part where we're talking about quarterback runs, we're going to get the whiteboard in here, and we're going to talk about those big guys in those red and white winged helmets for Delsey.
Chelsea's nasty.
Yeah.
It don't matter. They're nasty,
Yeah.
right? I mean, year in, year out. Playing the Delsey team on a cold day.
Yeah, forget about it.
I can't forget it.
Yeah.
By the way, Bobby Isom says, in this heat, your hair is still on point. So
Thanks,
checks
Bobby.
in the mail, Bobby. Paul, that was mine.
Should I get
Ours always good,
do I get
right?
an,
Yeah, ours is always on
do I
point.
get a-
Always.
do I get an NIL deal?
Yeah. With where's your Brill cream?
I don't bro.
Paul 6, 35. Highlands 6. Both teams open their seasons with lopsided losses at Battle at the Beach, but Paul 6 comes back and gets even at 1-1. Dom Santiago throws for 4 touchdowns. He runs for another. Tyree Roan grabs 2 touchdowns on 5 catches for 120 yards.
Young team. They got Ball 6 got some dudes. They got had a tough opener, and obviously against Highland, turn it around. They're gonna score some points.
Kingsway 28, Williamstown 0. Kingsway won the season opener 45-0 against EHT. They've started very strong. Newman Rojas, 16 carries, 108 yards, and 4 touchdowns for the Dragons. St. Augustine 51, St. Joe Hamilton 15. This is the first game without, this is the second game without Coach Sacco at St. Joe. We got a new man in charge down there, and Coach Dorsey. St. Augustine bounced back after an opening season loss to Donovan Catholic by 5. Ryan Gamble throws for a touchdown. Julian Turney, 8 carries, 179 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's pretty good. And Tristan McClear, the McClear boys are always mentioned on this show because they are always making big plays. He had a 58-yard kick
And there's
return.
a lot of them.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. 58-yard kickoff return touchdown. Middle Township beat Oakcrest 7-0. They moved to 2-0. Mike Zarfati, a 94-yard pick 6, the only score in this game. Mainland 35, Ocean City 0, the Battle of the Bridge. It turned green as the Mustangs moved to 2-0. Stephen Ordilli, 2 rushing touchdowns. Cohen Cook, Rocco DiBiaso each ran for 1, and Liam Kennedy caught 1 as the Mustangs win the big rivalry match. Gloucester bounces back from their season opening loss to Shalleck. They beat Buna 54-14. Jake Zierfoss, 6 carries, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. Washington Township and Eastern, this is where we get our knots of the week.
Plural.
I'm going to show you 2 of them, and then there's another one. I'm going to give you a note. First, let's start off with Quentin Singleton, and he decides he's going to make a house call. Right there on the doorstep of the goal line, isn't he? Yeah. Boom! There he goes. Quentin had himself a night. But first, let's take a look at Logan Perez, who also had a running touchdown. He decides he's going to take one to the house as well. The Minutemen, 2 pick 6s. The other one we don't have on video, even though, Coach, you did send it to me. Quentin Singleton had another pick 6. So he had 2 pick sixes on the night. Logan Perez had 1 pick six and a rushing touchdown as Washington Township wins 50-6. Jared Dzergowski also ran for a touchdown and threw one. Big win for Township here after they opened the season with a loss to Mainland.
How many pick sixes?
3.
3.
And if you thought, and this is the, I'm going through, I want to thank Chris Baker for helping put together all these stats and all these roundups. He does a great job. Thank you so much, Chris. I'm going through here, I'm reading. I said, 3 pick sixes. I texted Coach Schatzman, is that true, 3 pick sixes? And then the next one I read, I said, oh my gosh, I got to text their coach. I texted Coach Brian Wright of Timber Creek. If you thought Washington Township's defense or special teams would have won you a fantasy game if that were indeed a thing in high school football, you better hope you weren't playing Timber Creek's defense and special teams. They beat Camden Catholic 68-0. Okay? They had 4 fumbles returned for touchdowns. 4! And if that's not enough, Amir Reason Dallas also had a pick six. So they scored 5 touchdowns on defense.
That's not good.
No, I can see that.
I mean, I don't care who it is or who you're playing.
Bro, I can't hide.
To score 5 touchdowns on defense it's a lot.
I'm sorry for laughing, but I can see the steam coming from Coach's ears right now as you're reading that.
Look, in the golf world, just stay in the fairway.
If the ball's on the ground, you're a defensive player, you're going to run it in.
Well, yeah, you're going
to
try to pick it up and go, which you should. I'd like the other team. It doesn't have to be Camden Catholic, but I'm not. You'd like. These are the early. This is.
Look, I'm not going to say anything about anything except when I see 5 defensive touchdowns in a game. No offense to Chris, who does a great job, as I said. I still got to text the coach and make sure I read that correctly.
Right,
I said, you scored 5 defensive touchdowns, Brian?
It's called fact check.
Okay, good.
You took some journalism classes, didn't you? Yeah, check it.
Did I?
Yeah, check it. Check it.
I graduated from the Tom McGurk School of Journalism. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Tom, I know you're happy. Triton's 2-0, man. Holy Spirit 43, Egg Harbor Township 0. Ty Costabile. Costabile. I know that mispronounced that, but that's okay. Tiger Minetti, you will let me know how to pronounce it. 7 of 10, 177 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Jasir Pops Ward, 18 carries, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns as Spirit rolls. Cedar Creek Absegami, probably the craziest game of the weekend. First game under the lights for Cedar Creek. The Pirates win 50-48. Billy Smith throws for 195 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also ran for 1. Amir Dunbar, 20 carries, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ameline Parks, 6 receptions, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. How about on Absegami's side? Kendall Armstrong throws for 250 and 5 touchdowns. Richard Gibson runs for 109 and a touchdown. Zach Palmer, 80 yards receiving with 2 touchdowns. But this game...
This was their first night game, right?
Yeah.
But if it started at 4, it would have been a night game anyway.
Right.
This thing was, this thing was a 5-hour game.
It's a good thing it did. And I think the lights actually went out during the game. Pat Mulrain tweeted that out from the Atlantic City Press. But I'll tell you, Mac, the games we used to watch where now East Side would play down there, I mean, it would start to get pretty... You were kind of hoping there were lights because those games would go a little bit long.
A little dusky.
You're right. If they didn't have lights, they probably still would have needed them on a Saturday afternoon. Cedar Creek wins this game. There were 98 points, and I think there was only 1 touchdown scored in the fourth quarter. 6 points scored in the fourth quarter. So 84 points in the first 3 quarters.
Well, they were
That's
exhausted.
Pretty crazy. That's right.
After 4.5
No,
hours.
you take it. No, you take it. How about Gammy, though?
I'd like to see some defense being played.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gammy hung with them. Yeah.
Well,
obviously.
we've seen a lot of defense early on in the season. Offense usually a little bit later. But here, quite a game, 50-48. That one will go down. People will be talking about that all year, I think, down there. Shore beat Kip Cooper Academy 48-18. Shalleck moves to 2-0. They beat Pittman by a point, 14-13. Kenai Simmons, 61 yards passing. He also ran for a touchdown. Reggie Allen ran for a touchdown as well for the Cougars. Bishop Eustis, 22. Holy Cross, 18. The Coach Mack Bowl. Mackay Simmons of Eustis, 23 carries, 193 yards and a touchdown, and he had an interception. And that's exactly what Mac would have done back in his day with the neck roll, playing linebacker for Clyde, Folsom. Black and white winged helmets.
He and I were not honored at half.
No, you weren't. Haddonfield rolls Paulsboro 35-7. Haddonfield had a mighty impressive win at West Essex to open up the season up in North Jersey, 24-10. Declan McCarthy helped make sure they followed on the right foot. At home, the home opener, they beat Paulsboro by 4 touchdowns. He ran for 46 yards and a touchdown, threw for 106. But Dom Hahn, this kid just continues to get it done for the Haddons. 18 carries, 201 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And, of course, Charlie Klaus, runs for 2 touchdowns for the Haddons as well. Saturday, Palmyra beats Gloucester Catholic 26-21. Jaleel Lattimore, a receiving touchdown, 70-yard punt return for a touchdown as well. Riverside beats Princeton 14-7. John Boston runs for a touchdown. Justin Mary gets 2 picks on defense and also runs for a touchdown. Camden rolls Salem 34-0. Judah Anthony, 16 carries, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. As Camden moves to 1-1, 1-0 in the state of New Jersey. They lost to Lake Taylor of Virginia in the season opener. Shawnee beats Camden Eastside 28-7. They're now 2-0. The Renegades. How about Joe Papa? Runs for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's a hat man. Nick Rosinski, 15 carries, 81 yards, touchdown. Jack Connors, 97-yard pick six.
Listen, Connor's a great athlete. Rosinski's doing a great job early on. Papa's a grown man. He is a grown man when he's got the football in his hands. And, they're very, very diverse on offense. They throw a little bit. They run a little bit. They do a great job. I know we're going to talk about it later on the show, but Shawnee's starting out pretty tough.
Willingboro 55, Maastricht Charters 0. Willingboro had a tough loss at Northern Highlands to start the season. Willingboro will not have any home games this season. They're going to play everything on the road. They're putting down some new turf up there, and it's not going to be quite ready yet. Lamar Best threw for 6 touchdowns in that game. Chris Baker is right. West Essex and Haddonfield was at Haddonfield as well, so they're 2-0 at home. They're 0-0 on the road. Millville and Irvington, this game Saturday at Vineland. Vineland allows their arch nemesis to use the field, and Millville took care of business. 34-0 over Irvington. Irvington started the season, some outlets had them top 10 in the state. They are 0 for the West Jersey Football League. They have not scored against them. They lost to Eastside 6-0 in the opener. Millville bounces back after quite a game against Toms River North in the opener.
This means I want to say something.
Okay.
All right.
Pulpit.
Right? No, I don't need a
Soapbox.
I don't need a box either. Do media outlets in the high school world understand that kids graduate from high school and teams change? Like when a college quarterback graduates, there's usually another dude who's a scholarship dude, and in the Power 5, he might be even been another NFL dude. Like when schools lose dudes, there's not always another dude.
Yeah.
I mean, there's culture, there's tradition. Yes, and that's worth. Culture and tradition is worth. Rod? What do you think? 2-3 wins sometimes. The coin flips.
Yeah.
Right.
Culture and tradition will win you the coin flips. If you're not better than the other team,
Right.
you got to have a double-headed coin because you still need dudes.
Well, hey, look, I think, too, when we talk about the playoffs here at the end of the season, we're going to be talking about Irvington up north and 4 and where they're at with some of these other teams. Maybe we'll see. But you're catching Millville after they lost to probably the best public team in the state by a touchdown. I think Millville was pretty anxious to get back on a field, whether it was their field or Vineland's field or whatever field.
Look,
and they took it out on them. I mean, 34-0.
100%. Yeah, Irvington loses to Camden Eastside, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Irvington, it wasn't a 21-14 game to Millville.
Right. No, it wasn't. I just said that it was 34-0.
I just listened.
I mean, Millville won all the way around, if you ask me.
I know.
They won in 2 ways. They got the get back.
Yep.
I mean, it was a 12 o'clock game. So they had to come from North Jersey down to South Jersey to be on the field by 12 o'clock.
Well,
and then they got rolled. They got their get back.
Well, look, Millville was ready to go, no doubt. They got up, and then, there was There was a play I saw, another pick six.
Millville wasn't losing 2 in a row.
Did you see that?
No.
You know,
They were not losing.
No.
I don't care if they
And
lost.
they didn't.
I don't care if they lost to Bama the week before, which Tom's River North is really, 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 really good. I get it, but Millville is really, really, really good as well.
Seen a lot of comments. Everybody is chiming in. We're glad to see everybody is back. It's like a family reunion when we get back in these shows, man. Everybody, I feel like we've seen you out at the games. We've heard from you. We're excited to be back again this season. That was all the news that was fit to print from last weekend. We're going to take a look at some of the biggest games this weekend, and we're going to do that right after this, so stick with us. Welcome back, South Jersey football fans, the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. I want to thank Matt Zubak for his sponsorship of the show. You saw there his commercial. Be sure to get with him if you need training needs. Get ready for the season and the off season, all that stuff. Matt, thank you so much. West Berlin, New Jersey, 110. Cushman Ave, man. ZubakPerformance.com. Weekend preview, Mac. We're going to talk about first Friday night at 6 p.m. All these games are Friday night at 6 p.m. Here's some of the best options if you're looking to get out on the road a little bit right after work. You can head straight there from work if you get off at 5. Kingsway at Washington Township. It's been a long time since Township beat Kingsway. We've said it every year on the show here. I think the first time they played, the Minutemen won, and they haven't won since. The Dragons are off to quite a start, 73-0 so far, and wins over EHT and Williamstown. Township's played tougher competition, I would say, because of playing Mainland in the opener. They got right against Eastern last week. Last year's battle was 24-10, went in the way of Kingsway. I think the year before that it was a one-score game, went in the way of Kingsway. So this should be a good test for both teams. Kingsway's first real test, I would say. And Township, a team, they are just, chomping at the bit to finally
Doesn't it feel
beat.
Doesn't it feel like we're like trying to push Township? I mean, they do such a great job down there, and as does Kingsway. I mean, look at the quarterback play, right? Tommy Popoff. I mean, doesn't start to a senior year. Like, I don't want to use the word throwback. I mean, so many things. I mean, there's so many little soapboxes because nobody asks me any questions about high school football too much in the summer. Like, my wife doesn't want to really know my opinion on some things. Well, he's a kid. He stays around, right? He doesn't transfer. He doesn't leave. He didn't start to a senior year. He wants to play this. He's a baseball player, really. That's his gig, right? He's going to go play college baseball, and he's sticking around. And he's, that's putting the time in. That's culture. That's program. And then you got. It's interesting. Brady Williams, right? He's playing middle linebacker for him. His brother last year, Carter, down at Rowan now. Yeah. It kind of feels like, hey, big brother's gone. Now it's my turn, right? I'm gonna own the place, right? I'm gonna do some things, and that's how it's starting off early. Amir Washington making plays too on the D line. Yeah, they're tough. They're gonna play defense. Kingsway gonna play defense, and Washington Township's not gonna back down anybody. I mean, This is like you said. It's an early test of
It should be.
Who's in charge down there in Gloucester? Big schools.
Exactly. It should be a very good game. I mean, I do think that the matchup of this game that everybody should be looking forward to, like you said, Popoff, okay, here's his chance to show exactly what he's got against a team that has a very good secondary. And I'm not talking just about the 3 pick sixes. They had a couple of nice interceptions, too, in the opener against Mainland. Opportunistic secondary, quarterback with his first big test on the road, right? And I remember a few years ago when you said, you go to Township and they got the band playing, they all know the alma mater, and then here we go, they got the cannon, and something here is brewing and something has been brewing. So we'll see if Township can take care of Kingsway on Friday night, or if the Dragons reign over, the Minutemen will continue. Middle Township at Glassboro, 6 p.m. Friday night. Middle shut down Oakcrest last week, 7-0, to go to 2-0. Like I said, Mike Zarfati, his pick 6 was it for points. Glassboro is 1-0. I saw them rout Burlington City on the road last Thursday night. They are a young team, but a win like that could go a long way. And so could a win this week go a long way for Coach Timmy Breaker, his first win as head coach. When you look at the Bulldogs, this is a Group 2 team they're playing in Middle Township, so it would help them with power points. Glassboro's young, but up front defensively, I mean, you want to talk about big guys, Mac. I've got some of the lists here. Let's talk about Brandon Simmons, who's a sophomore, 6'1", 255. Demir Lassiter, 5'9", 310. Jermone Foster,
Yeah, so
another
go back-
sophomore,
go back
5'9", 280.
5'9", 280, 5'9", 310.
Some big boys up front for Glassboro, and they got some guys on the outside, too, that could do some things, and Saab brothers. And, you know, you went there to see Xavier Saab and Amari Saab, and you wanted to see them do their thing, but the first touchdown came from, you know, another freshman, and I don't even have the name here, but kid ran it right up the middle. I'm like, who's that guy? He's another freshman. That would be Devon Barr. And then some of the senior leaders show up as well. Karan Wright had a pick six. Just a good night for Glassboro. You look at their schedule, things line up pretty well for them in Group 1, I think. But they're young, and we'll see. This is a good test for them, Middle Township, at home, 6
Right.
p.m. on Friday.
We have to say this every year. You're Group 1 for how many students you have in the school, not how many players.
Not how many dudes you have.
Not how many players you have on your team.
Right.
Sure.
Right?
That's a clear difference.
Right. They have many players.
Yeah.
Not a lot of students in the school. Small school, a lot of players.
They were very impressive. Also, 6 p.m. Friday, Absegami at Atlantic City. We talked about Gammy. They hung right with the Pirates. It has been a while since we've talked about Absegami on this show. And thank you, Coach Heratopoulos, because it feels good to have the Braves back in the mix. Kendall Armstrong, again, last week, threw for 250 and 5 touchdowns. And Atlantic City loves to throw it, too. You might want to take the over in this one. Joe Lyons and Sinai DeGraffenrate, they're looking to go 3-0 for the first time since 2011. That year, they moved to 3-0 when they beat Absegami, 32-27. I don't know if there'll be 59 points, maybe more. We'll see. Another typical old school Cal clash down there with Ocean City. Opened with a win over Pleasantville, 14-6. Then they lost the Battle of the Bridge to Mainland, 35-0. They are going to host Cedar Creek Friday night at 6. The Pirates crushed Matawan in the opener and then survived that shootout with Absegami last weekend. Clash of styles, the high-scoring Pirates and the defensive-minded Raiders.
Correct. You know, what's that? A movable?
Couple good games down in that area, that Atlantic County area.
Yes.
Cherokee and St. Augustine, 6 p.m. on Friday night. This should be a great one. The Hermits bounced back after that Week 1 loss. Rolling St. Joe. Turney ran the ball. Like we said, McClear, another big play in special teams. Cherokee opened a lot of eyes in a big way with their blowout of Hamilton. I'd expect a lot of run plays in this one, Mac. I don't know about you. I think Coach Lancetta probably watching Hamilton last week says, I'm pretty familiar with this. Coach Rassa, one of Lancetta disciple. And it's a different place in Richland.
It's interesting because for years, Cherokee would scrimmage Hamilton. Like that was like their fist fight before the season started. And I don't think they were allowed to pass in that scrimmage. I think there was a rule.
Thrown out. Get out of here.
There's no forward passes. But, you toughen them up for the season. So you got two staffs that are very familiar with each other.
Yeah.
Glatzy and Coach Lancetta down there. And, look, it's at Augie. They show up. Fun place to play, too. Cherokee wants to continue to, be talked about of the Cherokee of old, right? I think behind you, we got the orange helmet there. So
There's a Hermit's helmet over here, too.
there you go. So
there you
we got
go.
both
So
flanking.
what's the over-under on pass? 15? 15 passes in that game? Or,
No,
or
I would say I'm going to say 22.
I'd say 18 and a half.
8.5 passes?
I'm taking the over. There's going to be more. There's going to be more. But, look, Cherokee threw it 15 times last week, and they didn't have to. There are going to be a couple more because they're going to be they're all both sitting in their boards going, well, they think we're doing this, so we then got to do this. They're going to do this, and then we're going to do that.
We'll review this next week and
And
see
we'll talk about what did we
who was
set it at?
closer.
20? We put the line. There's 2 times we talked about lines. There's not even lines in high school football.
There are now. Delsey at Winslow, 6 p.m. Friday night. Winslow righted the ship last week with a win over Lenape after losing to that Cherokee team in a close one in the opener. Enter Delsey, another contrast of styles. Last year was a pretty entertaining game. It was a 14-point win for Delsey. A couple plays go Winslow's way. Who knows what happens? James Franklin helicoptered in. You remember all that. 23-game regular season win streak for Delsey. You know what they're going to do, and we'll see what happens. This would be an interesting game to see. I know Winslow has some guy. They might look a little bit different here in a couple of weeks. Delsey will look the same as they've always looked.
For the last 40 years.
But a good game down there in the opener. Or at Winslow, I'm sorry. Oak Crest at Mainland, another Cape Atlantic League clash. I also want to say Latsier Brooks caught a touchdown against Irvington that set the record for Cape Atlantic receiving touchdowns in his career, I believe. And the Cape Atlantic League, obviously this is West Jersey League, but the Cape Atlantic League, there's still records kept for the teams that are involved in that league. And who owns that? And it's Latsier Brooks, who owns a couple records.
It's a Millville record.
Yeah. But Oak Crest at Mainland, like I said, the Falcons couldn't score last week against Middle Township. It doesn't get easier for them against the Mustangs. Mainland has looked like a machine early. They beat Washington Township 26-7 in the opener, beat Ocean City 35-0 last week. And there's another big cow clash next week. I know you don't like it when I look ahead, Mac, but Mainland Atlantic City could be a pretty big one. We'll see. Camden Eastside at Pennsauken, a mighty impressive Week 0 win for the Mighty Tigers against Irvington, 6-0 on the road. They were tamed last week by Shawnee. Saucon opened up with a win over Cherry Hill West last week. That was their first game, and they won it. They welcomed their kind of neighbors into Vince McEnany Field, right?
It's the old Olympic South Jersey North rival.
Battle of Westfield Ave.
It
That's
is.
right.
You know?
Now, there's no love lost between these two. There isn't usually. Mac, what's your favorite Wilson, now East Side, formerly Woodrow Wilson,
Formerly
Pennsauken story? You got one? You got just one?
Well, I got more than one. I will tell you this. Traditionally, Camden Eastside played at 11 a.m. So the way it worked was, back in the day, Pennsauken High and the junior high were separate schools. So the freshmen played at 9 o'clock. So the deal was, we got up, we left, we rolled, we went to the freshman game for as long as we could. Then we'd go to the Wilson game, first half of Wilson game, because Pennsauken played at 1 and Wilson played at 11, Camden Eastside, at Woodrow Wilson. So obviously, when we went to Wilson, as my dad would call it, we get a double bubble. You get the scout Wilson, and then whoever they were playing was typically somebody that Pennsauken had down the road. So I think I've seen more Camden Eastside games than any human besides someone who lives in Eastside or went to Eastside or has a relative that's gone to Eastside. I've had to see Eastside. I saw him play 8 to 10 times a year or 6 times a year for 20 years. Yeah, in saying that, a lot of battles, Pennsauken Wilson. A lot of like when you see Mike Rozier do some things, like when you're a kid and you see Mike Rozier play football,
Right.
and your dad turns to you and goes, "That guy's going to be playing on Sundays."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Sundays what?" Like, and he's like, "No, Tim, he's going to be an all-timer." And I'm like, "All right, Dad, I believe you."
Is Coach Arline still at Eastside?
Yes.
All
Yeah,
right.
still over
Well, there you go, right there.
Well, we know our lines. Yeah, Sean's. I ran him.
Defford, bottom of the pile.
Well, yeah, that was drawn up, and I think that was Mexico left. And you know what? I saw Shawnee 3 months ago, and we still talk about that stuff. But he's done a great job there. Lot of great South Jersey North battles in that conference.
Yeah. So if you're an Eastside or Pennsauken player and you're not aware of the histrionics and the deep big games, big players, whatever, this is to participate in it. It's pretty important.
As I've referred to in other shows, these are the Cherry Hill Mall games, right? Like back in the old days, it was South Jersey North. It was East, West, Pennsauken, Camden High, Woodrow Wilson, Camden Catholic, Paul VI, Bishop Eustace. So you wanted to win because you show up at the Cherry Hill Mall, you want to wear your jacket around, and that's.
Now that's the old days. That's back. I remember those times. You speaking to me now.
Right
Yeah.
there, pro shoe in the corner. You see Wes in there. You stop in and say, "Hey, get a couple pairs," and all good.
See the pro.
Before my time.
Yeah, but those were some good days. You would go back, like you said, pro shoe. You would go there, you would get your cleats and all that, go across the street to the mall. That's when Modell's used to be over at the Cherry Hill Mall. you get your wristbands and all that stuff. Maybe wake up early Saturday morning, run to All-Star Trophy and get some tape, some spat or something like that, you know?
Right there off 38. I mean,
Yeah,
The good
it's a
old
lot.
days.
right, you go to People's, you get them a Panzerotti,
There
and
you
you get lunch.
go.
You didn't have to move out.
Yeah.
You had a 1 mile radius and you had everything taken care of, Trip.
That was before the Instagram and all that. Like, we really knew each other. All the guys who played at Pennsauken or,
Yes.
you know, Bishop Eustace, Paul Six,
All-
Kamek, you all knew each other.
Yeah, and I know kids know other
Yeah.
towns. I mean, you actually ran into them at the mall, right? And we were joking. I mean, that's how the deal went. So you wanted bragging rights. There was not, like you said, there was no social media.
Nah.
Will Hickson, one of our favorites, says the Ribbit restaurant was right next to
Ribbit,
Pro
yes.
Show.
Yes, it was.
Right there in Haddonfield, Berlin.
Right at the corner. We remember right at the corner, Ribbit, and then you had Pro Shoe right there.
You gotta love it. I have not seen anywhere near as many East Side games as you, but some of the ones I saw were long enough that I think they counted for like 4.
I saw, listen, Rashid Baker, the touchdown maker, like
Yes.
like we were preparing to play him when I was at Eustis. I'm
Yeah.
like, we're on film going, all right.
Yeah.
Here's a question. If you take all those teams and say your all-time team from each one of them,
Oh, nah.
who's number one?
What?
Which program has the...
Which program has
Saucon?
the best?
Yeah.
Salkin versus Wilson?
Oh, that's tough.
Well, look, I mean, I'm really the 70s and 80s in Penn. I mean, there was dudes on both sides, but there was a point where Pennsauken had beaten Wilson a lot of times in a row, and then Darrell Wilson, former
He flipped
Pennsauken
it.
football player, went over to Wilson, revived the
And
product,
flipped it, yeah.
and I remember when they beat Pennsauken bad on a Saturday morning there.
Was that the Bam Goree time?
No, it was before.
Right before him?
Yeah, it was before then. It was before then. Look, I was in the Wilson stands on their side when they beat Willingboro for the Group 3 champion. I was on Will. You know, look, when you had your conference teams that you played against, when they went out of conference to go play for titles and sectionals, you rooted for them because, you know, the stronger Wilson and Camden played outside of, you know, because Pennsauken was Group 4, Wilson would be 3 usually, et cetera. All right.
Who says you don't get asked any questions about football? That's a classic stroll down memory lane. Anytime you see Eastside and Pennsauken, I knew I had to throw a softball to you, Matt. Get you grooved up.
Tabby will get them going, trust me.
The key part about that, I mean, we talked about the sneaker store, but that's where, Worldwide West was. That's where he started.
West.
That's right.
That's it right there.
My
That's
mother
how
would
it
bring us
started.
all in, and we get all school shoes. We get the play shoes, and then you get the school shoes that you're only allowed to wear. You know, they became your play shoes, and Wes took care of everybody, and now he's worked for some basketball team up the road, up the road, some basketball team up the road.
Yeah.
He's got some friends too.
You mentioned Willingboro, Mac. I'm going to get us back on track. Willingboro and Timber Creek on Friday night is a big one at Timber Creek. Again, Willingboro has no home games this year. They're all the road warriors. Borough has shown some pretty good signs through the first 2 weeks. They were young last year. They still reached the state semis in Group 2. They need to get consistent. I know Coach Everett wants to see consistency. The talent is there. It's about consistency week in, week out. Hung with a very good program in Northern Highlands to open the season. I think they lost by 9 or 11, somewhere around there. And last week rolled. So Timber Creek has had no problem early on. 2 blowouts. We mentioned they scored 5 defensive touchdowns. I saw them roll Highland in the opener battle at the beach. They have a lot of kids, man. I mean, they look like a Group 5 team from 15 years ago, like a Cherokee team. They got like 100 kids. This is 2 teams that play in much different groups, 2 and 4. They play different locales, Burlington County, Gloucester Township. And there's a lot of style, a lot of speed, a lot of talent across the board. I think it's a really great matchup. Willingboro at Timber Creek. It depends on who will dictate the way that game is played.
Maybe line of scrimmage?
Yeah, could be some line of scrimmage.
Something
man.
novel?
Big boy football, though, early in the season. There's
I
gonna
have
be
to
some
say that was
big
my
guys.
first time seeing Timber Creek in about 2 years, up close and personal, and they have some good size. This will be a good game between Willenboro
But
and,
they
and
probably,
Timber
and so
Creek.
is Borough, but they got probably couple more dudes.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good game.
And a fun fact about Coach Everett, he mentioned this the other day when I ran into him. Coach Everett has coached in every one of the 7 counties that makes up the West Jersey Football League. So that's pretty cool. He's been everywhere, man. And he's the best dressed coach
That's kind of
in
crazy.
South Jersey football. Saturday morning, Pennsgrove at Woodbury. Pennsgrove shot itself in the foot a lot the first 2 weeks with fumbles. If they do that against Woodbury, it could be a long day for the Red Devils. Anthony Reagan Jr. is quite a show if you're looking for one on Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. Woodbury hosts Pennsgrove. Woodstown at Paulsboro at 11. The Raiders knocked Woodstown out of the playoffs last year on the road in the semifinals. I'm sure the folks in Woodstown have not forgotten about that. The Wolverines look like a team to beat in Group 1 overall, and Paulsboro struggled out of the gate at Haddonfield, so they will be ready to get back on the field and get rid of that memory as well. Mac, that is what we're looking at as some of our top matchups in our walk down the Cherry Hill Mall history collection. We're going to be right back, though, to talk about the game of the week right after this, so hang with us. South Jersey, let me tell you again about my friends over at SRA Home Products. SRA Home Products has been building sunrooms, pergolas, and patio covers for over 25 years. They've built more than 9,000 projects in the Delaware Valley. I've had the opportunity to be around owner Mike Fody, and I have nothing but the best things to say about Mike and his crew. SRA is a gold accredited member of the Better Business Bureau, under the elite provider status with Home Advisor, and they've racked up a ton of Best of South Jersey awards in the past. They contribute to multiple sports associations and are huge supporters of Williamstown football. Find them online, srahomeproducts.com. I also want to thank the West Jersey Football Coaches Association for their sponsorship of the show this season. The West Jersey Football Coaches Association was established to promote, improve, and unite football in South Jersey. And in less than 3 years, the association created the Battle at the Beach and dedicated itself to helping others. They've donated more than $50,000 to date to provide scholarships through the National Football Foundation and the Touchdown Club of Southern New Jersey. The group has also donated to the charity Philly Faces, which helps those in need of facial reconstruction surgery. Thank you to the West Jersey Football Coaches Association for their sponsorship of the show. All right, Mac, talk about rivalries, and we got one, a game of the week. On Friday night, a team, like I said, that really needs to rally. It's been a rough 2 weeks for Lenape. They're at home, 7 p.m. They're going to be hosting Shawnee. This was the Turkey Day game for years and years and years and years and years.
50.
50.
Something like that. Lots.
50 years. This one has everything but the turkey. I mean, this is a major, major rivalry.
Big rivalry. District schools. You know,
Well, if you're Lenape, you're 0-2. Shawnee's 2-0. Shawnee comes in feeling great about themselves. Lenape comes in feeling like anything's got to be better than what it was last week.
right. I mean, look, if you're Lenape, there's really nowhere to go but up right now. You're 0-2, as you said.
Right.
And not a good, like coming off, playing better week 1 than week 2.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, the coaches will tell you that, talking to the guys. And so at these schools, you know, I'm sure Gush is telling the Shawnee guys, yo, don't be, you know, the old injured animal type thing. Like, don't take these for granted. Things are going well right now. Pop was playing extremely well. We talked about it earlier in the show. Jack Connors. I mean, on the offensive line, Eric Bills, you know, and Jake Thomas. They just got, you got Gilmore, 3.5-year starter, H-back, linebacker. They got some young kids. Rickards on the side, and like I said, Rosinski at running back. They got a nice balance of young athletes. Plus, they got the Nichols kid contributed a little bit last year. He's playing. He's a sophomore. And then we talked about Joe earlier in the show. I mean, Papa. How Papa goes, they go.
Yeah.
We talk about quarterback run being the extra guy.
Yeah.
Well, when he quarterback runs, Rod, he's an extra guy and a half. I mean, he's in pads. He looks like he's a grown man out there, as we talk about.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Mac, and I want to again thank Coach Tom Pagic, who is helping sponsor us again this season. He is Jersey Gridiron Scout, the premier training academy and college recruiting platform for high school products in the tri-state area. You need to register for the Underclassmen College Showcase in May, for high school prospects to be evaluated in front of over 50 colleges. Put yourself on the radar of college coaches. Families can become educated on the college football recruiting process and timeline by partnering up with Jersey Gridiron Scout today. Check out Tom's website, jerseygridironscout.com, for more info. Follow him on Instagram at Jersey Gridiron Scout and on Twitter at Coach Pagic, P-A-J-I-C, Coach Pagic. Tom, again, this year is going to help us look at some of the top talents in our game of the week. And he's got a couple, you mentioned one of them, but let's start with Lenape. Michael LeMay, all-South Jersey kid last season, 5'10", 180 pounds, senior captain, free safety, wide receiver, punt returner, kick returner, does it all. Mr. All-Purpose. Tom says he's arguably the most versatile and productive four-way starter in South Jersey. Explosive player, electric with the ball in his hands. High football IQ and physical presence on defense. He's a big-time hitter. Has the ability to impact the game at any time in all three phases of the game. The type of player Shawnee must kick away from in the kicking game. His junior stats, he had 113 tackles, 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, 19 catches for 234 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, 2 punt returns for touchdowns, and 2 block kicks. And as a sophomore, he had more than 100 tackles and an interception. Now, on the other side, like you said, Mr. Papa, right? Joe Papa, 6'3", 250 pounds, senior captain, quarterback for the Renegades. Great athlete, as tough as they come. A great competitor, Coach Pagic says, and I can attest to that. He's a hat man. The offense runs through Joe, which sets the temperature for the entire team. Physical with the ball in his hands, deliver blows in the run game. High percentage passer in the pocket, and has the escapability to beat you with his feet if he needs to. Can create big explosive plays down the field. Lenape has to load the box. Make sure they keep the QB run game in check. You look at Papa this season, ran for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. Against Northern, he ran for 119 and 3 touchdowns. He also threw for 2. And his junior year, he threw for more than 1,600 with 11 touchdowns, ran for 808 and 15 touchdowns. So he can do a little bit of it both. Both of these teams, and you look at them, hey, look, we have expected them to be there at the end of the season in each of their respective playoffs. Lenape in Group 5, they came up just short in the sectional final last year. Shawnee in Group 4, I think they lost in the semis last year.
Correct.
So they know the recipe. They know each other. Coach Gushu on Shawnee's side, Coach Woj on Lenape's side have a lot of respect for each other and each other's programs. And Mac, when you came to Lenape, the measuring stick was right there in front of you. Shawnee and Cherokee, Lenape in past years has gotten to that point and took a step back, right, early this season. 0-2, got to get it where it needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, again, you start out, there's some things going on, and, Mims back at quarterback.
Yeah.
Senior quarterback. And just as similar to as Shawnee runs through Joe Papa, I mean, Lenape's offense, as much as LeMay is that splash and flash kid when he does a great job. I mean, I coach Michael's older brother, Will, back in 2011.
Yeah.
Tough kid, tough family, and LeMay will do anything you need to win a football game. But Jalen Mims, he's that general out there and he can sling it. And some of the things that Lenape does, I know keep Gushu up at night, and vice versa. And so they're both sitting there spending some late night, early mornings trying to figure out. Look, I love Tommy Pagic. I've known him for 30 years. I don't need Tom Pagic to tell me some of these dudes, right? They are the guys on their team, and both teams are trying to stop the other guy. And as these things happen, what other guys will step up? Rosinski running back, Gilmore catching some passes out of the backfield, playing well on defense, right? What does Jack Connors do? On the other side, Choice Coppin, right? MJ for Lenape. Those guys. I don't want to call them the other guys, but it's football, right? You can't just one guy can't make a difference. Well, he can make a difference, but one guy's not gonna take a game, especially in this game. You're gonna need multiple dudes from both teams to step up.
Well, you heard it first. All hands on deck. Okay, if you're a Renegade, if you're a member of the tribe, either way, all hands on deck, red or blue. Big rivalry clash. I'll be there. Might hit, Johnson's farm first. Get a little, spiced muffin or something. Is that what they?
Is it pumpkin? Too early for pumpkin?
Yeah, it's too early for pumpkin. But I might help myself. Maybe some pie.
No, they got
some fresh baked goods.
They got the apple cider donuts that are phenomenal.
Yeah, see, there you go. Apple cider donuts. Waltz on over. Watch some football. Have ourselves a night. Give out the hat.
I live
for the 14th time this season.
Yes, 14th hat.
14th hat, man. Battle of the Beach was 12, and then
Shoney's got some hat winners, right? Papa won it.
Karan Wright had it last week for Glassboro. Papa wore it. Other than that, his name escapes me. They were on quite a skid for a while in hats. I was bad luck. I was not welcome at Shawnee for a long time. No, I'm just kidding.
What position?
Jake Schillinger.
Oh, Schillinger. Shilly got it.
Lenape had quite a few, some kickers.
A lot of kickers.
The X-Man, who's off doing his thing. Anyway.
There's another one, X.
Yeah. Great weekend of high school football on the way. We've had 2 great weeks so far. Thank you all for tuning in. We are glad to be back. We'll be back every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Thank you again to Rod Self and Studio B, D2 Sports Network, for making sure we're on and making sure we're running smoothly. Be sure to look him up if you need any shows or podcast needs. Rod is the best. Mac, it's good to be back.
It's good to have football going again.
It absolutely is.
Let's get the weather breaking a little bit. You know what I mean? Hot's okay, but this is crazy hot.
Absolutely.
85's all right, not 97.
Yeah, that's too hot for me, too. We'll see you next week. Have a good, fun, safe weekend, South Jersey. Be sure to cool off. Guys, drink water, please.
Oh, hydrate.
The cramping stopping the games. I mean, this is a killer. That should have been the soapbox. We'll get on that next week. Thank you for joining us, the first South Jersey Football Frenzy show of the 2023 season. We look forward to the rest of the season and being with you every step of the way.